Hi everybody, and welcome to Charger 360, telling the stories of the University of New Haven. I'm J.W. Stewart, former ESPN and NBC anchor, and I'm a teacher in the sport management program at the University of New Haven.
And I'm Bruce Barber, formerly of Smith & Barber, The Morning Show, now of Connecticut Public Radio, and the general manager of 88.7 WNHU.
So Bruce, I always say, just like I did, we're telling the stories of the University of New Haven. That's what we do on this show. Bruce, I cannot wait to hear this story from this guest. This is powerful and inspirational stuff, and you know him very well.
Yeah, this is a wonderful story, and it represents one of the joys of my 10-year career as the general manager of WNHU. So with the formation of WNHU, it's literally starting in 1970, some engineering students built the station, actually applied for the license. They got the license from the FCC in 1973, and a group of students physically built the studios and went on the air June 4th, 1973. And one of them is our guest today, Don Fertman. Yeah. Founding father. Don, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I feel like more like a founding grandfather at this point. That was 52 years ago that we first went on the air, and that was quite an experience. That first time we pulled the switch, and what I'm particularly excited about is the fact that now we have a new transmitter coming in, and we're going to pull the switch on that very, very soon. So everybody will hear us everywhere in true high-fidelity FM stereo sound.
And one of the great stories, J-Dub, and I want Don to tell it, was the way, because you wrote a beautiful thing. We just sent out our first newsletter, our first WNHU. We formed a WNHU Alumni Council.
Yes, we did.
We sent out our first newsletter, and I asked you to write some remembrances of your time. And yours was very poignant. It was all the things that, the way college radio and WNHU in particular had helped you grow as a person and as a friend and as a very successful business person, and we'll get to that. But I love the story of you seeing an ad for the radio station, being kind of a shy kid, and then going over there and your life changed.
Yeah, and if you look at that, there's a picture that goes along with that in the newsletter, and you see this long-haired hippie freak, Dick Elgato, the sort of originator of the station. He used to call me, "Oh, here comes the long-haired hippie freak," and I was a very withdrawn, isolated kid, two alcoholic parents, and I was extremely shy. You described me as shy. I mean, I was shy squared, and coming into the station, I loved music, and I loved radio back at that time. And they said, they're building a radio station. Okay, let me just go up there and see what happens. And I walked in, and basically this guy, Jack, came up to me, Jack Daniels Hearn, one of the alumni here, and who's still on the air today, by the way. Jack greeted me, sweetest guy in the world, became one of my best friends in college, and he handed me a hammer and a nail. It's right over there. There's some wallboard, start hammering. And we built the station from the ground up over there in the what was then the Student Center. And on June 4th, 1973, we went on the air.
Did it help you, or how did it help you come out of your shell as being this shy kid square, having a microphone in front of your face?
Well, it was an opportunity to actually express myself to some degree, but I was expressing myself in a couple of ways. One was talking about what I knew about music, which was actually quite a bit because I listened to music a lot. I was also ended up forming a band while I was in college, and
we got to talk about that.
Yeah, the Crayons, right?
Yeah,
and I did that for a living now when I graduated, but. It was the music knowledge combined with my own experience with music, and I was able to talk about that and express myself through the music itself, the type of music I was playing, and the songs that I played that meant so much to me, because it was the music that comforted me in my isolation.
And that's what I really try to get across to today's students. You know, it's tougher to get today's students as interested in radio as we were back in the 70s because they have so many other ways that they can consume music. But the way you just described it is exactly that. When you have that passion for it and you pass that along. So you're in the Crayons, you become very successful. And you happen to record, correct me if I'm wrong, a jingle for Subway. Was that right?
Correct. You are correct, sir.
And tell this story, tell what that led to.
Okay, so yeah, basically our promoter was at the time he was the head of advertising for Subway. His name was Dick Pilchin. And he was also Subway's first employee. He's the guy who designed, when you see the Subway logo, the arrows on the S and on the Y. He designed that logo. And Dick wanted always to promote a band. He wanted to, get successful in the music business. So he, in addition to what we had, the Subway Entertainment Guide, which was something we used in all our stores to write music columns and things like that and promote music through Subway stores and concerts and things like that. He wanted to promote a band. He selected our band. We were called Jeffrey Crayon Gentlemen at the time.
Okay.
When we first started, named after a book by Washington Irving, who wrote The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. He also wrote a book called The Sketches of Jeffrey Crayon Gentlemen. And one of the guys in the band said, I always wanted to name a band that. So we decided we were the Jeffrey Crayon Gentlemen, and we played for about a year under that name. Dick Pilchin came up with a slogan, Jeffrey Crayon Gentlemen, a difficult name to remember, but a hard act to follow. And then we made some changes because new wave and punk was coming in at the time. And so we went from British rock, British style rock, to new wave music. And the next slogan was, the Crayons, they're not gentlemen anymore. Because we shortened the name, took away the gentleman, we were the Crayons. And we were new wave, and we each had a color. We dressed, each of us dressed in a particular color, and we each had a big life-size crayon behind us. I was the orange crayon. I had orange hair. I dyed my hair orange. I had orange clothes. I drove an orange Volkswagen Rabbit, and I lived in Orange, Connecticut.
Beautiful.
I kid you not. And so when we became the Crayons, Dick said, with this whole new wave thing, why don't we have you guys do a jingle for Subway? Because he was the advertising guy at Subway. So we wrote and recorded a jingle that sounded kind of like Boston meets the Cars, the best of both worlds. And that became such a big hit. It was on the radio, on WPLR, on the Smith and Barber show, and many other shows around up and down the East Coast, which is where Subway was at the time. It would say, for Subway, here are the Crayons. And then our jingle would play. And so whenever we'd play clubs up and down the East Coast, and we'd play at Toads, and us and the Foo Fighters, right? Because the Foo Fighters, and Bob Dylan and all the other people that played at Toads. But we'd play great clubs, and when we go out to play, we'd be playing our stuff, and we were excited about playing our stuff. But all the crowd wanted to hear, play the Subway song. Okay, here's the Subway song.
This would lead you to an incredible career at the Subway Corporation.
The Subway song was our biggest hit, but you're right, because when the band kind of came to its end, I got a call from the very same Dick Pilchin, and he said, you have a college degree, don't you? I said, yeah, I went to University of New Haven. I was on the radio station. I was still on the radio station doing a show. And he said, I need somebody to do public relations. Your degree was in what, communications? I said, yeah. He said, well, then you can write, right? Yeah, I think so. So I need somebody to do public relations. I need somebody to sell franchises. I need somebody to edit our company publication. And I need somebody to be the company photographer. And I had taken a photography class. So I had all 4 jobs on day one.
And what was the title? You worked your way all the way up to absolutely the top.
I started out as a franchise sales guy, and I was the PR guy. I think that's pretty much what they called me. Oh, there's the sales guy, there's the PR guy. Then eventually I became director of franchise sales, and then eventually I ended up overseeing the entire development department. I became chief development officer and oversaw, it was leasing, it was construction, it was franchise sales globally. And I got to travel the world as we opened Subway restaurants in 130 countries. When I started at Subway, there were 166 locations and a Crayon commercial. And when I retired from Subway a few years ago, we had 40,000 locations in 130 countries.
Wow. One of the other cool things you did when you were at Subway, you twice appeared on Undercover Boss. What was that experience like?
Well, you know, did you ever see the show Entourage? I had an entourage. Basically, everywhere I went, cameras followed me around for a week. And I went into Subway restaurants and interacted with sandwich artists, people that were hands-on people working for Subway, managers, and just simple sandwich artists. And I got to learn what they did. And the other thing was, I got to learn how to make a Subway sandwich. And let me tell you, I was the worst sandwich artist of all time. They came up with a new slogan: there's no such thing as a 5-minute sandwich, except for Don. Because, you know, we're supposed to move them through the line. It was a very slow line. We had them backed out the door when I was making a sandwich.
So what I think is amazing is now not only are you heard on the weekend on Alumni Sundays on WNHU, you're also teaching here at the university. Tell us about that.
Oh my gosh, I'm still wearing a lot of hats. Mm-hmm. I'm doing a show, you're right, at WNHU, and I am an adjunct professor, and I just started that last spring. I created a course on franchising, and I got the opportunity to teach that first franchising course here at the university. And when you look at the business world, when it comes to franchising, it's an $893 billion business. There are hundreds of thousands of franchised locations around the world. And in the University of New Haven College of Business, they had about 2 pages in one book talking about franchising. So I talked to Brian Kench, the dean of the Pompea College of Business, and at a homecoming event, as a matter of fact, like the one that we'll be going to shortly, or will have been, depending on when this airs.
That's right. Yeah, will have been. It was a good time.
It was a great
too. Let me tell you.
We had a great time. I said, and you know, great job, coach. And you know, those guys did a great job. I love your Charger ties.
Thank you.
And you know, it's great to be a Charger. I will tell you that. So, you know, I talked to Brian and said, you know, maybe we could put together a franchising course, and knock yourself out. So I enlisted another professor to help me learn how to be a professor, and we put together a course and we taught it, and it was great.
This might be the most impactful part of your story. I mean, you've done a lot of amazing things here and helped a lot of people, but you're a recovering alcoholic. You went on national TV on Undercover Boss and said this to millions of people. Most people would keep this private. Don, why did you disclose this on national television?
You know, it's one of those things that there is a stigma surrounding substance use disorder, as it's called these days. And, you know, whether it's alcohol or drug use or, you know, just things related to mental health, because, I mean, you can be addicted to anything. You know, right? We're addicted to our phones. We're addicted to, you know, social media, whatever it is, where we get addicted to stuff. But what we don't see is the face of recovery. When you talk to people about addiction and substance use disorder, they think about the drunk lying in the gutter. They think about the heroin addict with the needle hanging out of his arm, nodding, you know. But what is the face of recovery? Once somebody finds recovery, there's no shame in that. That's a good thing. That's a good thing to go to rehab. That's a good thing to start your life over again. And I wanted to make sure that message got out there, and I had an opportunity to disclose that. And it was one of those things where I was literally sitting there on the air being interviewed, and I was, should I say this or not? You know, because I was thinking about the stigma. So should I? And I said, you know,
Wow.
I'm in recovery from alcoholism and have been for however many years it was at the time. And it was incredible, the number of people that reached out to me because I said that on national television. That's back when a lot of people watched TV. This was, about 13 years ago, I guess. And the thing was, it put a face on recovery. And these organizations called me up and said, hey, can you help us to grow? Because you're in recovery, and you got, as you say, got pretty high up in this little sandwich company that became a giant sandwich company, and you know how to scale. Could you help us scale?
Wow.
And so I've been able to work with organizations like the Phoenix, which helps people to find recovery through doing sober, active community events like rock climbing or hiking or bicycling or yoga, even meditation, and music. We got into music too, which is kind of cool. But the whole idea is we get to make connections. We get to connect with other people that are looking for recovery. It gives people an opportunity to connect and do healthy things together. And they had one location in Colorado at the time and a couple of chapters out in Colorado. And so I flew out there and I met with those folks, and I gave a few suggestions on scaling using the Subway model, kind of, the whole franchising model. And now we're in 48 states.
Wow.
And we've reached over 750,000 people. And actually, in fact, rumor has it that we're getting close to the 1 million mark.
That's incredible, just incredible. So very quickly before we let you go, I'm hijacking this a bit, J-Dub. We usually ask for a pitch for the University of New Haven, but I'm hijacking because I'm looking to really expand the number of students, and even if people are considering coming here, to get involved with our radio station, WNHU, that you helped found.
I think that's a great idea.
So give a quick 30-second pitch for why current students, or people considering coming here should join WNHU.
Okay, well, WNHU wants you. And the important thing about this is that it creates a community. We have a terrific student community. We have an opportunity to learn management skills, to learn on-air skills, to learn a number of different skills in interacting with folks. And it is a student-run organization. And what I love, Bruce, I got to give you kudos that you've brought WNHU back to being a student-run station. And we need students to run this station the way we envisioned it 50 years ago. So taking part in this, it'll be an experience that will literally change your life, because it's changed mine. And I've taken all the skills I learned at the radio station at WNHU, and I've utilized those to end up being the chief development officer of Subway for 40 years.
Mic drop.
Yeah, that's about it. I mean, Bruce, this is one of the best interviews we've ever done. Don, thank you for everything you've done for the University of New Haven, and thank you for everything that you're doing for everyone who's in recovery.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Don Fertman, one of the founding fathers of WNHU, here on Charger 360, telling the stories of the University of New Haven. If you'd like to be on Charger 360, it's pretty simple. All you got to do is email Bruce or myself, bbarber@newhaven.edu or jstewart@newhaven.edu. If you'd like to watch one of our previous episodes, just do your favorite internet search and search Charger 360, and we'll come right up. For Don and for Bruce, I'm J-Dub. Thanks for watching Charger 360, the official video podcast of the University of New Haven.